since we can't see who's joining, we will just start up. Again, if you're joining, which I imagine people are trickling in, if you don't mind just letting us know who you are in the chat and where you're calling in from, that'd be awesome. I'm assuming we have a lot of out-of-state parents. Welcome. I'm Melody Murdoch. I am Director of Strategic Communication from our Marketing and Communications office, and I am happy to moderate today. And we have an awesome panel here of some really impressive U students. Their resumes are so long, I'm not even going to introduce them with all the cool things they're doing. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of who they are and then let them tell you more in our responses. So let's start with, we have Brendan Sang here. Hi, Brendan. Brendan is a senior. He has been involved with student government. He's on our alumni board. He is a local student from Utah. Welcome, Brendan. We have Muskan Walia. Muskan is a senior. She's a former presidential intern. She has worked very closely with our office. She has lived on housing most of her years here at the U. I've got that right. Muskan, where are you from?
Southern California and Utah combined.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. We've got Alfredo Lira. He's a senior as well. We've got fraternity represented. He was an opportunity scholar. And Alfredo, you said you were originally from Mexico, and were you also from somewhere in the States?
Well, yeah, I'm just originally from Mexico.
Okay. Awesome. Glad to have you. And then Nadia just joined. Hi, Nadia. Nadia is a recent graduate. She is currently a graduate student, a first-year dental student. So we're going to get a little bit of a graduate perspective as well. Thank you for joining us, Nadia. And then we have a parent here. We have Emily Zumstead with us, a parent here from Utah of a sophomore. So very excited to have you. So I'm going to kick off sort of a broad question to the group. So people who are listening in, you can leave questions in the chat as we go. We will get to the Q&A more at the end, but I am happy to trickle in questions as we go as they are relevant to our conversation. So my first question for this panel is about the transition from high school to college. So I'd just like you to think, just broad sweeping here, like top maybe piece of advice that you would have for these students coming here and or their parents, sort of what that looks like as they transition.
Hi, everyone. So my experience was a little different because I was a transfer student. My freshman year here at the U was 2021. I think the transition for me, it was just more of it was pretty cool because I was able to learn about things that I was actually interested in from high school. So it was easier for me to focus and organize my time to study and do a little bit of research on my own. Not just on the academic side, on the extracurricular side, I think college is just a little better at providing you with opportunities to stay involved. So my recommendation would be just to look for opportunities to do things on your own or just with some friends or organizations or whatever, and that'll make it a lot easier.
Excellent. Muskan.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about the academic side a little bit. I feel like, the most daunting thing going from high school to college is sort of like, oh my gosh, what are these classes? I have to be a little bit more independent. You just have one deadline and you have to kind of schedule out your time in making that deadline, which was very different for me from high school. And I would say that the academic support at the U is really incredible. So, what I would do and what I did and what I wish I did sooner was, there are these TAs and there are the professor's office hours, and then there are tutoring centers all around campus that do different subjects. So there's math, there's physics, there's chemistry, there's writing, there's literally every single type of, subject that you might need. There's a tutoring center with students that are really patient and just want to help you and will spend as much time as you need. So something that I think was helpful was just I just need to go to the tutoring center in this free chunk of time before class, and I'm going to go and focus on this, these couple of problems on my homework and get that done. And then, I can have some free time in the evening. So I think that, taking advantage of peers that are going to be your teaching assistants, and then, building up the courage and the confidence to go to office hours and talk to your professors during, asking them for help and getting caught up there. And then really just like these tutoring centers, I feel like are just incredible. And they're like completely free, and you just bring whatever you want and they'll just walk you through whatever you need. And so I think that that was sort of the biggest thing that supported my academic transition from high school to college.
Excellent. Thank you, Muskan. Uh, Brendan?
Yes. I want to tackle on kind of like the community aspect. Coming from a local high school, Alta High School to be exact, which is 30 minutes south from here. You know, you'll have your high school friends. You know, you come from a school, 2,000 people. You come into the University of Utah, there's 36,000 people. So I just want to say, don't be afraid to kind of get out of your high school bubble and don't be afraid to meet new people, especially for first year students that are living on campus. This is a great way to be able to connect with more peers and meet lifelong friendships that you may not be able to if you know, stayed within your high school bubble. So I definitely recommend, like, during your transition to, you know, talk to your next door neighbors that live right next to you on your dorms. Ask people to go eat at Callert or the PHC or even Lassonde. And just don't be afraid to be yourself at college. I know, you know, you may have a title such as like student body president at high school, but at this point, no one really cares. Everyone's just themselves. You're a complete new person. And just like build your own life. Personally, I was a very shy kid in high school, you know. I decided to come out of my bubble here in college and just was able to meet so many amazing people, and be a part of, you know, this seminar where I'm able to tell you guys about my experience and collaborate with a bunch of my peers as well, such as Muskan, who I worked with last year. Yeah, you just get to meet amazing people.
No, that's awesome. It's great. So many quotable things you just said. I'm going to go to Nadia. Before I do that, I forgot to tell everybody that the session is being recorded, and we will it'll be available somewhere after. I don't know exactly where, but it will be. Okay, Nadia.
Hi everyone. From my experience, so like to give you an overview, I graduated from Kearns High School, go Cougars. And then I went to SLIC, the Solid Community College here, and then I transitioned to the U after that, and I've been here since then. But I would say, like, one of the best pieces of advice that I could give, going along with what Brandon said, is to like find your community. And my way that I did that is by joining clubs on campus. So for the parents or for the future youths that are watching this, I would say that you know, go like on the website or like go to the club fairs that are like available and happening on campus, and like whatever club that you think would fit your interest, join it. Doesn't matter, like even if it's slightly, join the clubs, and then you'll meet people along the way. Or I guess even sororities and fraternities, even if it's not your thing, even going to like Rush and like doing all of that, it can help you find people that are like-minded, and you know, that will go a long way in college. So yeah.
Excellent. Emily, I'm going to ask you as a parent, yeah, but you give your perspective and then I'll follow up with another question for the group.
So the perspective on the transition, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We might get to the communication thing later, or like how you develop that communication. First of all, hello everyone, and welcome. I would say with the adjustment, I mean, I want to say that I have two daughters who are 4 years apart and two stepsons who are twins, and the daughters couldn't be further apart in their differences, and neither could the twins. And so I totally recognize that, like, every kid is different, every kid parent relationship is different. And so I think that adjustment will really depend on your kid and you and that relationship in your family. And I think the adjustment for me was just hanging back a little bit, especially at first, and letting her get her feet under her and get settled. It meant that there wasn't a lot of communication at first while she was taking it all in. And I wanted to check in a lot and just kind of hung back, and that's what worked for us while she, just got on the road to independence a little bit. And I think along the way too, when she was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I would just say that I just kept encouraging her to communicate with her professors. If she felt a little bit overwhelmed or she didn't understand something, communicate with those professors. They're there to help you. They have office hours. She actually let me know separately that she would definitely recommend office hours if a kid is feeling like they need a little bit of extra help and a little bit of extra connection with the professor. Because like Brendan said, you might be going from a smallish community to a gigantic one. And so establishing that connection with a professor can be really helpful, even if it's just through office hours or being brave enough to send some emails with questions. So hope that's helpful.
I think that's great. I want to follow up on that because I think we have a lot of parents probably calling in our audience right now. So students, what advice do you have for the parents? What worked, what worked, maybe didn't work as you were making that transition? How can the parents be most supportive without being too supportive maybe, or too involved? Any thoughts on that?
I want to tackle this.
Yeah.
So I personally had really strict parents growing up throughout high school, and I feel like once I was finally in college, I was on my own. They kind of just like let loose and let me kind of do whatever I wanted to. I mean, we only have these 4 years to do, anything that we want, right? And I just think that the parents should be able to support all the decisions that the students want to make for themselves. I mean, ultimately, it's the students, it's the student's life, right? We're here to build our own life, our own careers. We want to be here to make those connections that we want and be involved in those things that we want. So I don't think that parents should really like kind of control the pathway of what a college student should look like. More of just like supporting the different things that they do, whether that's joining a fraternity or sorority, or just like joining a team, trying out for the football team. I don't know, something like that.
Excellent. Does anyone have anything to add to that?
I think I would say yeah, I had parents who were just like constantly calling me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, please stop. Like, so I mean, I would say that was like kind of annoying, but then, after a while I like reflected and realized that like this life, this moment is such a big transition. And I think having some sort of stability, and like, knowing that I think just like communicating early on that like, oh, hey, I'm gonna like leave you be, but like maybe we should check in once a week, or, midweek check in. And then, I just see like all of my friends and just so many people on campus, like on their walks from class, like calling their mom and like, telling them all the tea. And so I think just like, being communicative I feel like I would benefit, if my mom or dad was just like, I want to like let you be independent and support you in all the things, but like know that I'm here, I'm like the stable person that you can always sort of turn to if you're feeling confused or lost. I think just like putting that out in the air so that I don't know, I feel like I would look around and be like, is everyone else really independent? And I just like need my mom and dad, So like letting them know that it's okay, and like, yeah, you probably do need your parents to like support. So don't like completely cut ties. And that I think it's like it was good for me to sort of just have them to just know that they're there, and we'll pick up the phone or answer a text whenever. So.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's hard as a parent because you want to swoop in. But I also think there's an empowerment of letting your children solve some of their own problems, So if maybe you're having conflict with a roommate or something, it's always nice I think it's confidence building when you're able to do that, or talk to your own professors or whatnot. Alfredo, did you have anything to add? You looked like you were gonna.
Oh no, yeah, they touched it perfectly. So yeah.
Awesome. Emily?
Yeah, I just, Muskan made me think about how I think I'm a very curious, I ask lots of questions of my kids to kind of get to know what's going on. That's regardless of their age. And I think I've learned, especially with my sophomore, that the fewer the questions, the better. And so I've had to, it's good, I think, as a parent, at least in our situation, to normalize just like the quick text, the quick check-in, or just communicating via like memes on Instagram DMs, or, it might just be like the quick, like, hey, love you, funny GIF, that's it. And like not making her feel the pressure to answer a bunch of questions, or like even the general, like, how is your day? Just the quick check-in, because like Muskan was saying, maybe that like helps provide that foundation, knowing that you're there, just thinking of them. And it's good. They can come to you when they need to, but not feeling the pressure to answer a bunch of questions, on the regular.
Yeah, I kind of like the you were saying that Muskan, like setting expectations a little bit about what this is, like maybe the first few weeks in, like the parents don't know how much to communicate and the student doesn't know. So maybe being like, hey, let's just start with like once a week or twice a week or whatever, and then at least there's some expectation there where the parents aren't feeling left out or the kid's not feeling smothered or etc. So I like that a lot. That's great advice. Do you have anything to add, Nadia? Your parents aren't pestering you as a graduate student? You think you're out of the woods there?
My parents have gotten used to me being just busy all the time with school, so they don't really ask a lot of questions. They're just kind of like, they see me in my room. So I live at home with them still, and they see me like, in my room studying. They just like kind of poke their head in. They're like, okay, she's busy, I'm gonna leave her alone. But I think at some points I did feel like I wanted them to ask more questions, because sometimes I'm really excited about like a project that I'm doing at school, or if I like did really well on something, I want to share that with them. But if they don't like take the step to ask like, hey, how did this go, or like just asking me like what interesting things I have going on at school, then I don't feel so like I guess like motivated or like wanting to share with them. So sometimes it's nice to have the parents like ask like, hey, anything like fun happening at school that you want to like tell me about or anything. But for the most part, they just kind of let me like do my thing. So yeah.
Awesome. I have a nephew who's a freshman this year, and his parents have said to me, there's so many super fun things happening on campus. We're afraid that he's going to forget he needs to go to class. So I'm going to talk to you about juggling the extracurriculars, the clubs, all of that also with academics, because there really are a lot of opportunities to get involved. And a lot of you have been very involved, but also very academic. So I don't know, maybe talk about like how you juggled that. I know as time goes on, it probably gets easier, but what has that been like for you, and how have you been able to manage like social, extracurricular, maybe a job and academics?
I can start with this. So like when I first got to college at the community college, I was really involved. I was the club president for the pre-dental association. I was club president for a bunch of different stuff, and just like way too involved in school, like outside of class. And then I kind of like forgot about my actual classes that I needed to be involved with. So I had to like pull myself back a little bit and, think like, okay, what's the most important thing that I care about that I can like have on the side in addition to my classes, and not just like, saying yes to everything. I think initially when I got to college, I was like, like in high school, I was kind of like on my own, didn't really like get involved or do a lot of stuff besides like maybe sports here and there. But once I got to college, I was saying yes to everything. And then I was like, wait, I need to like take a step back and not say yes immediately when somebody offers like, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? So I think when I got to the U, it really clicked for me, because I got to, I think it's called this like South Campus, where it's all biology and like chemistry and all this sciencey stuff. And I saw everyone really involved with, research and mostly being involved with academics. And so I kind of started deviating away from the extracurricular clubs more towards like academic stuff. And I think it's sometimes hard to try to balance that or manage it well. But what really helped me the most is using calendars to like block out times that I had to like study, that I had to do schoolwork. And then I could find like hours here and there where I could like attend, different fun things that are happening on campus. But yeah, I think it just takes time to find your balance.
I love that's great advice with the calendar, especially. Maybe you have anything to add to that?
I would, yeah, I think calendars are great. I think something that the way that I approached, my education and like the different components of my education, like I think academics are a part of it. And then it's like all the extra stuff that sort of supplements our education. So I always thought about like, I care about this issue, or I really want to get involved in this. Like, you know, how could this supplement what I'm doing in school or what I'm doing in academics? Like, could I bring this up in class? Could we like, or could I take what I'm learning in class and like bring it to this club? You know, so I sort of was like thinking about, I don't know, I didn't like to think of them as sort of distinct bubbles that I like, you know, needed to keep in categories. And maybe that's helpful for people, but maybe a different perspective is like, you know, how like I will choose things to be involved in that like sort of support each other, and like I can bring my academics to the like extra stuff that I was doing and the extra stuff to my academics, and creating sort of like a fluid model so that we're not thinking that just like, you know, that our education is just in the classroom. Our education, when you come to college, the cool thing is it doesn't happen in the classroom, and in fact happens like with your friends and, you know, out meeting new people and like seeing new ideas. And so I sort of thought of it in that way. And then yeah, I also sort of was thinking like, again, on the combination side, is like, ah, shoot, I haven't seen this friend in so long, but I like need to do this homework. Okay, like, you know, let's go get lunch and like do homework. You know, I'm not sure how much homework will actually get done, but like we can try. And then, you know, like it's just like, oh, let me go hang out in her room and we can do homework together. Or, you know, just, you know, whatever. I need to do this project and like I also want to see my friends. I wonder if I can combine the two. You know, so I think you kind of can push your creativity here to get everything done, and then also sort of use that, you know, those bounds of creativity to sort of see like, what should I get involved in, what should I spend my time doing. And then of course, you know, during finals or during midterms, you kind of lock in and you shift your time a little bit and focus on what's happening in the classroom, but then can find more of a balance after those periods. So
Excellent. Alfredo or Brendan, do you have anything to add? Or
Yeah, I mean, going with what Muskan said, it's really important for you to be good at time management. I think that's a big skill everybody needs to learn during college, especially if you want to be involved in multiple organizations on campus or whether you have a job or something. Another thing I wanted to ask is to kind of know your capabilities so you can like manage your time properly. Like if you know you're not good at writing, you should set up a little bit more time to write a long paper. Or if you're not good at math or you need to do X, Y, and Z, you have to know kind of how much time you're gonna spend on something so that you can effectively manage your time. And that's just gonna make it a lot easier for you to have a little bit more free time, or yeah, just being able to do a little bit more stuff and not feel pressure to do it too, because that's one important thing. Like when you're involved in so many things on campus, sometimes you just feel pressure to have to do everything at 100%. And the reality of it is, the things is you just can't really be at 100% on all things, right? So yeah, just be really mindful of how to use your time and your skill set, I guess.
Yeah,
excellent.
just adding to Alfredo's point, just like knowing your priorities, and Outlook calendar is my savior. I'll say that. So just put everything on your calendar so you know what's going on. It'll send you like frequent reminders through notification on your phone. So it's hard to lose track of where you need to be at and what you need to do.
Yeah. And like, I mean, in the professional world, it's the same way. We have to block out chunks of time to get certain things done, even if it's not an official meeting. So I really like that you are incorporating that. You know, you previously, a couple of you spoke about, you know, having a relationship with professors, office hours. Maybe if you could just talk just a little bit more about that, because I know as a freshman, you know, some of these students are taking more generals. They might not have as a personable relationship with those professors. Should they try to do that freshman year? Does that get easier with time? And just any tips you might have on sort of navigating and building those relationships and how important they are with your faculty.
I can start off with that one. I think the biggest advice I have for that is always to introduce yourself. I mean, I think going to introduce yourself to a professor pretty much 90% of the way so that they know who you are. They'll be able to help you if you need any help, or office hours, as Miskin was mentioning before. So yeah, I mean, that just goes a long way. If you're not a good, I like to sit on the front row because I really can't hear if I'm in the back or I get distracted. So that kind of like forces me to like pay attention and interact and everything. But yeah, just doing like those small things kind of help you to develop a relationship with your professor, and just ask questions. I mean, there's been college can be a little bit overwhelming because the classroom can be. I mean, I've been in classroom with 300 people, I think, 100 people. So some people can be shy, at asking questions because you think, oh, this is a really dumb question, or oh, I don't want to show off. I don't want the professor or everybody just think that I'm just asking to show that I'm smart or whatever. But the reality is that sometimes when you ask a question, maybe like 10 or 15 other students had the same question, but they were not really willing to ask the question. So just get out of it. That is inside of like getting out of your comfort zone, just being able to do that. Just ask questions and be ready to learn. Because I mean, that's what we're all here for. And professors appreciate that a lot, and they'll remember your name when you needed some extra credit. So do it.
Awesome. Anyone want to add anything to that?
I think building a relationship with your professor is just as important as building a relationship with your peers. You never know what opportunities may come out of these professors. They have a lot of knowledge, they have a lot of background that potentially you might want to go into in the future. But they also, they've been through college, they know what they've been doing. So I mean, I feel like it's a great way to just like get to know them by going to office hours, like the other panelists have said. But also maybe like sending emails about questions if you're interested in something such as grad school. Most of these professors have went to grad school, and especially like near the end of your college career, like your junior, senior year, you don't really know what to do, whether you want to go straight into the work field or maybe potentially do a graduate program. These are the people that you want to talk to. These are your references. These are the people that will write your letter of recommendations for schools. So I think it's a really good way to just get to know your professor and get your name out there by introducing yourself, whether that's before class, after class, and just going to office hours every week. Last semester, I had a class where I went to the office hours every single week to the point where the professor knew me to, my whole life story, basically. And I was able to build that relationship so much to the point that, we're still in contact. We still talk about, just life things. And, I see these professors as a friend more than anything now. So it's just a great resource to have.
That's lovely.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
go ahead, Muskan.
I was just gonna say that's so lovely. And I think like, I put myself in, those freshman classes where there was like 200 people. And people always said like other people, it's true, like other people will have the same questions, but I just was like scared out of my mind. And so I think like there are levels, right? Like you can start with the TAs and they are nice and they're just, I mean, in those big classes, there's always going to be TAs. Start with them. And then, like start building up, you can build up your confidence after a couple of weeks and go to the professor. And I think what helped me sort of build up the confidence was with these professors is like, of course, if you have, some questions in the back of your pocket that like you tested out with a TA and they weren't, like you still confused, then you can go to the professor. I think also just like Google them and see like what they've been up to. And you can come prepped with questions or just current events or literally, if you're in a history class and there's something happening in the world that you're like, how does this tie in? I think like you don't have to feel pressure to like ask them about career advice. You could just say like, what are your perspectives on this? Like, I'm kind of thinking through this idea or, whatever. I think like they are just so down to sort of have fun conversations, as Brendan was saying. And then that sort of lends to them learning more about you and then really having sort of an invested interest in your success.
Yeah,
I
such good advice.
I want to add like my like a personal story. It's kind of like failure at first and then success towards the end. So when I was coming to the U, I think it was fall 2021, I think is when I started here. So that summer before I started, I knew I got my acceptance and everything, and I was just waiting for classes to start. But I was kind of debating on, what job to get on campus or if I should get an off-campus job. And obviously on-campus jobs are easier. And I knew I wanted to be involved in research because, I was coming from a chemistry degree at an associate level to a bachelor's degree for biology. So I was like, I want to do something in research, but I didn't know any professors here. I didn't know who to reach out to. So I did some quick Google search And I was like, you know, I have this chemistry degree that I think I can use. So I'm going to look up the chemistry professors at the U. And I found one of the professors. I was interested in the research description that he had on his website. And it's really easy to find these like research projects that they have going on because they're so passionate about it. It's pretty obvious like how you can find it. Like it's really easy. But so Dr. Rainier is his name. And I found his lab. I was like, this seems interesting. He had a bunch of pictures of graduate students and undergrads that were working with him. And so I was like, okay, this is a team that I want to be a part of. But I was kind of scared because he is an organic chemistry professor, and my organic chemistry class, I had a C in it. And basically having a C in organic chemistry as a pre-dental student who has a chemistry degree, it's kind of like a death sentence for some people, but I didn't let like that C stop me. So I emailed him. I wrote up like a really fancy email, you know, like use all the fancy words I had in my vocabulary. And I basically explained to him that I wanted to work in his organic chemistry lab, and I knew that he was going to ask about my grade. So I explained it to him beforehand. I said, hey, I know I have a C, but I'm really passionate about it. I just didn't do well in that class because one, it was during the pandemic and I was taking it online. And two, it's just a tough subject for me, but I know I can like do it like application wise. I know I can do it. So then he reached out back again, and he was like, you know, I like your explanation. And he basically told me like, yeah, come in. I'll kind of like do an interview, but it wasn't really an interview. We just chatted. And then I started working in his lab. And that was kind of surprising to me that an organic chemistry professor accepted an undergrad with a C in OChem to come and work with him in the lab. But I learned so much there, and I worked with a bunch of grad students, and I still talk to those grad students as well. So yeah, I would say like, I kind of forgot the question, but just sharing my personal story. I think like reaching out to professors, even if you have doubt that like, oh, I don't know if I can do it or if they will accept me. I think just reaching out even before like meeting them in class, that can also like be helpful. So yeah, just don't be scared and like just try and see what happens. The worst you can hear is no. So yeah.
Yeah, I love all of this. I used to be a professor, and I'm absolutely what you're saying is so true. Like the students you reached out to, you'd remember their name, you made connections, and I wasn't teaching a class of 1,000 kids by all means. I was smaller classes, but I still like cherish those relationships, and I really, really enjoyed the students who were proactively reached out to me. So, and most professors are very willing to help and to help you get in any way possible, even just to have a interesting conversation. Some of you were speaking a little bit about jobs. Let's talk about that. Maybe, I know there's a statistic that students who work on campus are something like 14% more likely to graduate faster just because of their connections on campus. So maybe tell us about like jobs or internships that you've gotten, or any tips, even again for first years, what does that look like? How can they look for that type of stuff, even if it's just a few hours a week? Or what jobs have you had?
Okay,
Like,
start again with this. So I have multiple jobs on campus at Slick. I think I had 3 different jobs, and then at the U I had 2. Not at the same time, obviously, but yeah. So I like before the new policies, I used to work in the Office of Diversity at the community college. And then I was working with like different scholarship programs, and all of these were like entry-level jobs that were meant for students. So they built like the job description in a way that they knew you would have time while you're on the job to be able to do other things like school work and stuff. So, I would spend most of my time at work, obviously doing work things. And because of my personality type, I personally like prefer to be doing work, even if they told me like, hey, you're free to like do your homework right now. I'd be like, no, like, let me find something. I feel weird like using your time to do my homework. I felt weird doing that. So I would still like try to find things to do. But yeah, I would say on campus jobs are really nice because, they let you do what homework and other stuff like that, like while you're on the job. And as long as, you're doing your things, they're fine with it. Like, as long as you're getting your work done, they're okay with it. But yeah, and another job I had at the U was working with like the accounting department in the biology, like School of Biology. And that job, I also just asked them, hey, do you guys have a job? And they were like, sure, yeah. And then like I got an interview, and I had no accounting background, but yeah, I would say just ask, and you can like pretty much get any job on campus because they are targeting students to work for them. So obviously they know like that you don't really have a lot of work experience before coming to college. So they're more willing to work with you than, let's say, a full-time job off campus. But yeah.
Excellent. Anyone have anything to add?
Yeah, I think working on campuses, I mean, I've had three jobs on campus. I worked for the first job I had was actually as a custodian at the dorms. Definitely do not recommend that one, but if you want to try it, go for it. And I worked for the athletics office and the HR department here at the U. And I think it's just a great opportunity to like start in the workforce because it's super low pressure and you start getting like used to the corporate, I think, level of communication. And it's just like awesome. And it's great to have like some sort of responsibility of like doing your job, but also having the flexibility of do your homework and like nothing, all that pressure of like just being there like 100% committed to the job because most of the managers are pretty reliant on that. They know you're a student, and if you have like an event or something, they're pretty flexible and like schedule or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity. Like if you can find a job on campus, whatever you want, and it's also great that you work with other students, so the work environment is also pretty comfortable and like a really good place. And I mean, I found some of my greatest friends through work as well here at the U. So I think it's just great.
Yeah. Lots of on-campus jobs, lots of off-campus jobs too, quite frankly. It's a big city. All right, Emily, what do you got?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. Like, I echo everything everyone has said. I used to work at a small private liberal arts college, literally down the road from the U, and I was the supervisor to student workers at my job. And so, I really wanted my daughter to find an on-campus job because of all of the reasons you've already given. And so she's been working at the Marriott Library all last year. And the cool thing about an on-campus job too is that if you happen to be staying or sticking around in Utah, that job could continue through the whole summer. So she stayed with that job all summer, had part-time hours there, and supplemented it with another different off-campus job. And then when it was time to come back to school and live on campus again this year, she's got it still going. And she's more of an introvert and loves the people she works with. Like, I think she feels much more plugged into campus because of working with her fellow students. And I mean, when I had student workers, I knew, of course, like, if you have finals, there's just flexibility, like Alfredo was saying. I think we just understand that school comes first. And we even, I would guess that all of the managers, most of them on campus, like build that schedule around the student schedules instead of, working off campus, even though there are lots of opportunities where you're kind of given a set schedule and maybe not quite as much flexibility. So we're big fans in our house for sure.
And school breaks. You get the same,
Yes.
you work on campus,
Yeah.
you get to go home for the breaks.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we give those in the audience opportunities to put your questions in. So there was a question that came in that Trisha sort of responded to online, but I know we have at least one of you or more who are members of frats. So if you saw the parent comment that their child did not get in after rushing, what would be the best way to support, and can this person rush again in the spring? Did any of you students have answers on frat life?
Yeah. Well, so like an advice on like rushing or like how to be supportive or what's
specifically how to be supportive because this parent student didn't get in after rushing.
Oh, okay.
And so how can the student best be supported, and is there another opportunity to rush again?
Yeah, so I'm a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity here at the university. I think the best advice I have would be to be open to more houses too. I think it happens pretty often that a student just wants to get in a house specifically, either for legacy or they think it's the best house in the row or whatever. But I think it's important to stay pretty open to other houses. Why? Because I think a fraternity at the end of the day is pretty much just a group of friends hanging out and doing stuff together. And I think it has to go both ways. And sometimes people can oversee the qualities of other people just basically a base of numbers sometimes, or maybe didn't give a first great impression or whatever. But don't let that make you feel worse or like feel bad. Sometimes, like I said, it's not even personal or not that they don't want you or anything. It's just numbers, or that's just how things work, unfortunately, sometimes. the best way to be supportive, like I said, it would be to either look for other houses and still making friends. I mean, still have practicing the same qualities and networking skills you had like all your life, and make friends in that fraternity as well. That can help a lot. I mean, I've known a couple of students that either they didn't get in first semester, made a bunch of friends in that fraternity, and next semester went in like 1 day or two. So yeah, that would be like the
Yeah,
best
I will.
advice I have. So
That's great. I was going to add our fraternity and sorority life. It went up 23% this year. We don't exactly know why, but it was very popular. So I suspect that that has been an issue. With their limited space and housing and whatnot. But
yeah, I mean, another thing though is Greek life has grown so much lately. When I first came out here, I think there were like 6 fraternities. Right now, there might be 8 or 9, maybe 10. Not all of them have a house. But I mean, that's something just logistic that we don't really need to get into it, right? But yeah, just the percentage of students that can get in now is just a little, I don't know, a little smaller, because I mean the applications are just crazy. First year I came here, there was 700 people rushing, and I think this year was close to 1,200 student rushing.
Yeah,
So,
that's what we heard.
yeah, it was crazy process this year, but yeah, just stay pretty open and check other houses and keep making friends. It doesn't really hurt you if you're not in Greek life.
Hey.
I just wanted to add like a different perspective. So I thought about like joining sororities, but eventually like not ended up doing it, or like doing the rushing. But I will say that like our clubs on campus, they're really nice as well. So from my I guess academic perspective, when I was a pre-dental student and I joined the pre-dental society here, like it felt like a sorority because there was like way more girls than guys anyways. So it kind of felt like a sorority anyway. And like we bonded so well because we had like a similar background. And I would say that like Greek life isn't the only way to get involved on campus and feel like you belong to a specific group, because we have so many clubs that like fit different interests. So you can join those as well and find your people there. And it's not to like throw shade, but it is less expensive to do those routes as well instead of doing the Greek life route. But I know it's really fun, and it can help build a community. So either way, there is a lot of different opportunities and ways to get involved on campus that can make you feel like you are part of a community.
Excellent. There's a follow-up question in the chat. The 23% number I threw out was the total number, I think, from last year. It was a 23% increase. And I'm not sure if that's how many actually got in or how many rushed, but I would guess it was probably similar across the board.
Could I add on to the question? So coming from a perspective where, I was actually in a fraternity my first 2 years and kind of stepped away from it my last 2. So I've kind of experienced the best of both worlds. There's definitely a bunch of opportunities in joining, a fraternity, but it shouldn't involve like your entire career here at the U. There's so many opportunities, like Nadia said, to find your community. So if you don't make it into a fraternity or sorority, like don't be so harsh on yourself. Like Alfredo said, it's not like they hate you. Like it's probably just a numbers thing, and it's hard to get everyone in with so many limited spots. But yeah, just be able to keep an open mind and just like be able to find your community on campus. I think that's the best way to go throughout college, whether that's Greek life or not. I'm sure you'll find it, God takes you a certain way that, wants to make you successful. So whether that's Greek life or not, you'll be fine.
I think that's a great perspective. We aren't like the California schools where that is, if you don't get in, you're sort of ostracized. Like that's the great thing about the U, is that's just one of many ways to find your community. There's lots and lots of opportunities here to do that. I don't see any other questions coming in, so maybe I should just ask this other question. What do you wish you had known sooner? That can be through the lens, again, of Emily as a parent and then as students. If you could go back in time. And maybe talk to your freshman self, any other advice you might give.
Yeah, I don't know my freshman self, but my high school self. I would definitely tell her to take AP classes and also concurrent enrollment classes, because like I wish I knew about concurrent enrollment classes in high school so that I could take a bunch of them and then like cut down on the cost and time that I had to spend like in early college doing those like gen ed classes that don't really like pertain to your degree. I wish I knew about that sooner, but I guess for my freshman self, I would just tell her like you don't have to say yes to everything. Just try to balance it all like pretty well from the beginning. But yeah.
Excellent.
I think I would say, I don't know. I think I would sort of just say that this is like the time to just sample everything and just try on different outfits and see what fits and what you like and what you don't like. I think we have a lot of pressure from adults asking us what we want to do and what we want to major in, and just remember that like you don't need to have an answer to that. And in fact, like I just remember like all of my friends freshman year have like completely changed like paths, and that's like so cool and amazing. And I think like just remembering that, yeah, like no one actually knows what's going on, and like we're kind of just making it up as we go, and like really lean into that in these first couple of years, and just remember that like everything can be figured out. There's a way. There's going to be like a whole support system of academic advisors and professors and all of the and friends. And so just like lean into those, like taking risks and just trying different things, and thinking about different ideas and asking different types of questions. And just, I don't know, I think that like can set you up for sort of just like a great perspective on life as you leave college as well.
I asked my daughter what she would have done sooner so that I could share it. She said she wishes she would have taken public transit sooner. I think she was a little nervous too, but that's given her a lot more independence too, because she doesn't have her own car, and parking on campus is a little bit of a nightmare anyway. So she wishes she would have done that and explored campus a little bit sooner. There are just lots of nooks and crannies and lots of places to explore, and I think she's found a couple of favorite studying spots that she wouldn't have found if she hadn't gone exploring. But for parents, I also think, when I think about what I wish I would have known, it can kind of go both ways. Sometimes maybe some of us feel like, gosh, my kid is an adult now. I'm losing them. Like I'm losing them forever. They're going off, even if you're still local, whether you're local or out of state, you might just feel like, wow, big changes, and they are big changes. But I think what I've realized is there are still lots of opportunities to parent in new ways, new ways to connect with her as a young adult, and which is really exciting. It's really fun to watch her come into her own and figure it out. And just this last week, she was feeling really stressed and thinking about dropping a class. And when we were texting back and forth about it, I was eager to jump in, and then I had learned what I mentioned before, and I just said, okay, do you need some advice, or do you just need to figure this out? She said, I think I just need to figure it out. I'm like, all right, cool. It's like cool to evolve your relationship in that way. I think I wish I had known that like, and you can't know until you go through it. Just that evolution that happens is actually really, really cool. And it's also cool to see maybe your kid, maybe you're worrying about how they'll handle stress or this or that or the other, but it's really cool to watch them do that on their own too, and to kind of get the report after. You might not see all of it, but maybe you hear about it later. And that's what we raise our kids to be able to do. So it's cool to know that they're going through it and they're experiencing it and solving their own problems too.
Yeah, that is fantastic advice. Alfredo and Brendan, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that going into college, nobody knows what they're doing. So you'll figure out your path like throughout your entire 4 years of college, whether that's even what you want to major in, right? But just be open to like exploring. There's so many opportunities on campus and resources that'll guide you the right way. So yeah, just know that, you might go into the business school, you'll find people that know that they want to go to investment banking, right? And later down the line, they switch their major. So it happens. So yeah, just know if you don't know what you're doing at this point of your life, nobody else knows what they're doing at this point of their life either.
That is so important. So important because I think everybody thinks everybody else does, right? Everyone's faking it till they make it, but in reality, we're just all navigating it.
Yeah, I would like to add that it's really important to know how to take care of yourself, both
Mhm.
physically and mentally
Mhm.
and emotionally, I guess. Um, I think if I could like meet my freshman self, I would be like, hey, be mindful and like take some time for yourself. Because I mean, freshman year, I feel like you're just trying to get out of your comfort zone a little too much sometimes, and you just like trying to meet with this people, this group, what like you're just bouncing places, and sometimes you don't give yourself the time to like just hang out with yourself a little bit, read a book, I don't know, have a hobby, something that you enjoy, even just doing on your own, or I don't know, someone really, really close to you. I think that's really important for you to like, because I help you to like manage stress. Because I mean,
Mhm.
networking and just talking to a lot of people can cause a little bit of stress because sometimes it's just like serious organizations or like class professors, so that can add a little bit of stress. So just doing that, it'll help you to like calm down and be like, hey, it's okay, can have some fun. And physically, just exercise and eat good because the freshmen 15 are real. So yeah, and just learn how to cook because trust me, that DoorDash bill comes in after a year, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe that was a little too much, but yeah.
I love that, piggyback on that, we have a lot of students in the dorms right now. We got more students than ever because we opened up new dorms. That first year in the dorm, right? You're eating in a cafeteria, you're navigating roommate drama, that is constant. Just any other advice, maybe just specifically for those dorm students, because um, I have a daughter who's an extrovert and she had an introvert roommate, and I had to say to her, some people need alone time. Like, maybe you should give your roommate some alone time every once in a while. So there's just some, maybe any other tips just in that regard as far as living in a suite with potentially three. Some of our suites have up to three people. If you channel back your freshman year. Any thoughts on navigating your roommates? Did you fight over fridge space, or your swiping at the? I know there's a lot of questions about swiping at the food halls, things like that. Sort of getting that drill and down.
Um, I personally was lucky enough to go through 4 years of college and never having a roommate. But I have had
Oh,
suite mates. And I want to say just setting ground rules from the get-go, such as like trash, bathroom, dishes. We had a lot of dishes issues where people weren't washing their plates. Um, Kind of just like setting those ground rules from the get-go and, setting a standard where you want these things cleaned at all times and just like making sure that you guys both know that it's a shared space and that you guys want it clean. You don't want it looking like a pile of trash, right? Um, so yeah, I think that's a great start, but also just getting to know who you live with as well. Everyone's different. We all have different lives. A bunch of us are busy. Maybe some of us like to stay in our room a little bit more. Um, but making those like formal introductions first and seeing where that relationship goes from there is a great way. You can usually see someone's vibe, through the first couple interactions and kind of gauge, what they like and what they don't. So honestly, just getting to know the people, setting ground rules. That's my tip.
Yeah, I would, Brendan, I think that's great. I've had so many lovely roommates, and I think like and doing an initial ground rule check and then, doing like monthly just check-ins to make sure that things aren't bubbling up. Like I think it's just natural for us to be like, oh, we don't want to be annoying or we don't want to start conflict, but sort of just having that space, that time set out on everyone's calendar, or it's like we're gonna come to the main kitchen area or we're gonna, make sure we're both home at this time for a 10-minute thing just to talk about how things are going. And if everything is working, I think has led to some really great relationships with my roommates. And I think also like just know that they're just, I mean, Melody, I think you were hitting on this, like they're lean on others for support, like I think take some time because sometimes you just like want to freak out and you probably shouldn't. So like take some time and then like lean on others, like your parents or like an RA or a friend that you can just like vent and be like totally honest and you can say all the words that you want to and then like framing it in a way, stepping away and then seeing them just like as a human being and framing it in a way that's constructive, I think has been really helpful as well.
Yeah. Excellent. Maybe we can close out here, do you have any like must-do campus traditions or even programs or campus events that, you'd be like, hey, you gotta do this, like the freshman picture that they just did, the first year student photo, anything like that. And it could be it doesn't have to just be a first year thing, but anything you're like, hey, before you leave the U, you gotta at least do this particular thing.
The football games, that's what I'm gonna say. I went to the one yesterday and we won. So I feel like you're not like a true college student until you go to one football game and you gotta do the third down jump too. That's so fun. It makes you feel like you're in a high school, like college, like, or not high school, what is it called? Like a movie type of like college thing. Yeah, it really like ties it all together. You can do everything else on campus, but if you don't do the football game, it doesn't bring it all together.
And I think all athletic events too. I think basketball is really fun. Gymnastics is pretty fun. Soccer is fun. So yeah, just go to all the athletic events. And the cool thing about it is that there's just one event every single day. So if you're not doing anything, just go show up. And you'll meet people there too. So it's a great way to meet so many people and have a good time.
Excellent.
For first year students, definitely Crimson Nights. It's like the big party on campus. So you just have a great time.
That's awesome. Do you have anything to add, Ms. Khan?
Yeah, I think they hit on it. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, I don't know. If you're looking for an academic answer, there's like the Hinckley Institute of Politics. They bring in some interesting speakers, or you can get like cool internships across the globe. I think like, I don't know. I think study abroads are just so fun. This is the time to like travel abroad. I don't know if it's like everyone needs to do it, but I think have it on your radar. Like the U has a campus in Asia. Like try to see if you can find a way early on to get one of those like international opportunities or just living in another state for a little bit. That's, different from Utah, I think. And the Hinckley is like a great way to do that. But I think there are lots of different options and you can talk to your advisor. But yeah.
Excellent. I just saw the follow-up question in the chat that someone was saying that they ran out of freshman space for the first years and their student got put with 3 juniors. Did any of you experience that where you were living with upper class people? Yeah, I think that's actually not a common occurrence. If you have any advice for what that would be like living with upper class people as a freshman, as a new first year, I mean. Ask them lots of questions. Go ahead.
Where I live right now, so I live in the epicenter, and I live in like this NCAP community where a lot of us are juniors and seniors, and there's actually one freshman that lives right next to me, and I mean we've kind of we took him under our wing and kind of just like showed him the ropes of the University of Utah. Like a lot of us have like guest tickets to the football game, so we brought him to his first football game. So I would recommend just like, I mean, getting to know those junior peers that he's living with, or that he or she is living with, because they can be a great resource, especially as a freshman that doesn't really know what to do or like where are the good places to go on campus, what are the fun things to do. These people have been here for 3-4 years now, and they've generally mastered their way around here. So, I mean, get to know them, see them as peers like they would other freshmen as well.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if they go eat at the different food halls where the other first years gather. They could also probably build community there and probably join some of the other things that first years might gather if they need that camaraderie. But maybe it's an opportunity, like you said, to get to, you know, be taken under the wing of upper class folks. I think we're about out of time. We have 1 minute left. I want to thank everybody who joined us and thank our awesome panel. Any of you joining, if you have any additional questions, you can probably email or put them in the chat in the last minute, or I think you can email the email that we registered here, and they're happy to follow up with any additional questions. But thank you again so much. What an awesome panel of very impressive students, and we thank you, Emily, for joining us with the parent perspective. Thank you, everybody.